Hello and welcome to our first episode of Pixel Pals. My name is Jordan Wiegand and with me today is Casey McGeorge.
How is it going, everybody?
Going well. He's my Pixel Pal. But yeah, we are talking video games here. So I'm not sure. Maybe we'll put this one up on the break room as well just to help launch. But this is something that, Casey and I have been looking forward to launching for a bit now. And I know that, we've been looking for something to do ever since Superstore ended. For people that don't know, we did a podcast about NBC's sitcom Superstore for season 3, 4, 5, and 6, right? We did like 4 seasons of that show.
Yeah, and then there was a period where we tried to go back in between seasons and do the ones we missed. But it was a good run. It was a great show. Towards the end, there was some issues there, but I still thought it was a great show.
Yeah.
In all fairness, it may be one of, if not the best endings for a show I can recall in a long time. The ending for that was probably as perfect as they were going to get.
Yeah, it was a pretty good wrapping up of that. And, ever since we had plans to go back and do, we had plans to go back and do more of those shows, but kind of just feel like everybody has kind of, I guess, moved on at that point. And we've been kind of looking for something to kind of do since then. I had Casey on the Marvel podcast talking WandaVision earlier this year as well. So, and we've just been constantly talking about, doing something else, and we landed on video games.
And real quick, I have to come back whenever Agatha's show comes back on.
Yes, we'll have you on for Agatha. Yes, that'll be good. But yeah, so we're gonna be talking that we have today is just like an introductory show. We're gonna be doing video game news, all that kind of stuff. But today is mostly about getting to know the hosts, getting to know what our favorite games are, what our favorite consoles have been, what we've played, stuff like that, just to really kind of get into, our passion for video games. So we have, a few questions here, but I want to ask, before I ask this question, I guess, what is the earliest memory you have of playing a video game? For people that don't know, Casey and I, probably about 10 years apart or so. So yeah, I'm interested.
I just turned 43 in October.
Okay, I just turned 30 in June. So we're about 13 years.
Yeah. I remember playing Atari and stuff when I was a kid, but honestly, my first real vivid memory is the first time I remember seeing Super Mario Brothers on the NES. And that was just amazing to me at the time. Looking at like the Atari 2600 and those things, and it was just like a couple pixels that you were moving around. It wasn't much. And then, like I said, Super Mario Brothers, and then seeing that there was just this whole world of games in Super Mario Brothers, or in the Nintendo world. And then eventually I led to the Genesis and many other things. And that dang dog from Duck
Hunt. Let's see. The first memory I really have is I remember. I don't count this as one of the consoles I had because it was kind of already outdated at this point, and I'm not really sure if it was more of my dad's. But he had Intellivision, and he would plug it in every so often. I remember playing Burger Time on that, and man, I really love Burger Time. It's funny, as we talked about before the show, getting off track, is when I would go visit my wife when she was up at school in Pennsylvania. They had this place called Buddy's Burgers or Buddy Burger or something like that, but they had a little they had a Burger Time arcade game in their little, it was almost like a Five Guys type of thing, but they had like a Burger Time one in there because they were a burger place. And I played that whenever we'd go up there. We'd go in there. I'd be like, yeah, I get to play Burger Time again. They've done a more recent one on Switch that I really want to get too, just because I think it'd be a lot of fun to revisit like a more modern version of the game. But I remember playing that game. That's really the only Intellivision game I remember him having. I'm sure he had more. And then that's just like one of the earliest things I can remember. It was like one of my dad's favorite games too. So I would love to get like one of those arcade. I think Walmart has them now and stuff. Like the little
arcade machines that have
Yeah.
like 10 or 20 games.
Yes, yeah. I want
whatever
one with
loaded on
Burger Time on it, so I can put it up in my house whenever I get a finished basement or another house or something. But yeah, so let's go into it then. Kind of leading into that first console, you kind of mentioned it there, maybe, right? The NES, was that your first console, or you said Atari? I don't.
Yeah, I remember vaguely. I can't remember if I had an Atari or I was just always someplace where I was able to play an Atari. But I do remember the first console I was able to actually have was the NES with the orange light gun and Mario and Duck Hunt. And like I said, for me, between trying to shoot that dang dog because he kept laughing at me and trying to work my way up to World 8-4 in Super Mario Brothers. It like now when I was a kid, it seemed like it was probably like 100-hour game because it took me forever, and like you pretty much had to play it in one sitting. There was no saves or there's no save state. There's no passwords for that, so it took me forever to beat. But yeah, that's probably my first console that I distinctly remember having was Super Mario. Was the NES rather.
Interesting. Yeah, my first console was actually a Sega Genesis. In the early '90s, I remember having a Sega Genesis, and I remember a few games that I had for it, which one of them was actually not mine, so I'll save that one for just a bit. But this one, I had Tiny Toon Adventures for the Sega Genesis. I just remember my dad and I, this was the game we'd sit down in the basement and play all the time. And we'd try to get through it all the time. But I remember this boss being a real pain in the butt to beat if you're watching the video version. But it's like, this, there were some really hard levels in that part. And then I had a Tasmanian Devil game. I had, what else did I have? I had like an NBA game from like 1995. And I had like a Batman and Robin game for the Sega Genesis, which I remember being tough for me. I was like a 6-year-old.
Was that the one after the Batman movie came out?
No, it was actually based off the animated series.
Okay.
So it was like based off the animated series, and you could like play 1-player or 2-player, I think, where you could play as Batman or have a second player with Robin. And I just remember like going to my friend's house who lived like 3 houses down when I was growing up, and he was able to get past a level I couldn't, and I'm sitting there watching him play this, and I was like, "Oh man, I've never seen this part."
That was back in the pass the controller days. Like you'd play
Yes.
until you died or whatever, or play your level, and then someone else would come and either pick up the next level or pick up the next guy or whatever.
And it would be like before you could really even look up online, right? So like if I didn't see a level, I never saw the level. So it'd be like, especially when I'm playing, it's before 97. And at least then, I know there's been internet around in 97, but we didn't have like internet in our house then. It wasn't really until we, I think, moved to our new house where we had like the Walmart dial-up internet stuff that we had.
I remember having to go through magazines for everything. Like
yes, you get like
growing up,
like Nintendo Power or something,
or various. Most of them probably don't even exist anymore. Electronic Gaming Monthly. I don't know how far back that one goes. But various stuff like that. I remember having to either look up stuff or cheat codes or, look up stuff through there, or friends at school who would have those magazines. I was they were able to like, oh, like I distinctly remember like Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest. Um, a buddy of mine was able to give me a password to be able to basically go to the last boss to fight Dracula, and put it in, and somehow I was able to beat Dracula. It was amazing. I can't remember how old I was, but it was like the first time I did it. But first time I even faced him, and I was able to win, and I was like, wow, that was quite unexpected. The Mike Tyson code for Mike Tyson's Punch Out, which by the time you played it might have just been regular Punch Out because they lost the license to use Mike Tyson, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But stuff like that, I remember, having to like write stuff down or get stuff in magazines and try and use stuff that way. It wasn't until probably around the same time, the late 90s, where I realized like you were able to look up stuff for video games online. And then I remember using, God, this is going to sound horrible. I remember using Hotbot was my search engine because there was no Google yet.
Really? I never heard of that one.
Hotbot and Yahoo were like the two search engines of choice.
Yeah, Yahoo. Ask Jeeves. I remember Ask Jeeves as well.
And I remember typing stuff in there as far as like, video game cheats or stuff to look up.
Yeah, there was I remember a website, Super Cheats. I remember going there a lot as a kid once we did have internet, and it'd be like, because for people that don't know, if you're young watching us, which maybe you're not, but if you're young watching us, you have you're used to your games saving all the time, but there used to be where you have to write down a passcode to get to that, back to that level with that amount of hearts left and all that kind of stuff.
Or even worse, you had to leave it on because either it didn't have a password or, like I said, there was no way to save it.
Right.
I remember like The Legend of Zelda and a couple other ones like that actually had a battery in there so you could save a couple of different games, but that was it. Other than that, like, you had to leave that console on and just like turn the TV off and hope nothing happened in the middle of the night. Hope nobody tripped over it or hope the power
doesn't go out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I remember like especially when I had like my Game Boy and stuff, it'd be like I had this Mickey Mouse game where it's like Magic Wand, and you have to get like all the puzzle pieces to put the puzzle pieces together of your friends. And after you beat a stage, it'd be like password FXVH, and you're like, okay, FXVH, FXVH, and you're like trying to write somewhere down, write that down somewhere, and then you get back because once you turn it off, it was done, and then you have to go when you turn it back on again, go to like resume, but you have to click a code and be like, okay, this is FXVH, and then hopefully that you got it right. Yeah. Or you'd be by the time the internet comes on, you'd be able to skip all the way to the last level because somebody would put all of the passwords up there to get to the last stage,
cheat codes and things.
But another game I really remember on Sega, this was actually my cousin's game on his Sega, but it was Pugsy. Little weird orange alien dude who's on like this island with a parrot pirate and like going to do all this stuff. It's a platformer, kind of like a Mario type of game, but a lot of fun. He can, pick up like the gun that the parrot's holding there. That's one of your weapons. You can just shoot things with it. But it's crazy. I really love that game.
Here's one for you, if you remember, because my little brother had a Genesis. Do you remember Toe Jam and Earl?
No, I don't. No.
I don't know why, but that was one of my favorite games of all times. It's these two aliens that crash land on Earth, and they were into like funk and hip hop and things, and you had to go. It was weird because it was like a procedurally generated thing, so it wasn't a set number of levels. You had to find the pieces of their ship. And it was wacky and cartoony and different things like that. But you might put it on one time and you might go through 15 or 20 levels before you would find all their ships. You might try it another time and you might go through 15 or 20 levels before you'd find one piece of their ship. Like, there was no set stages. It was weird, but it was I don't know, it was something to keep me occupied for hours, and I really liked it.
It's funny that apparently, I just looked it up. is available on Steam as well, called Back in the Groove, and it looks like they have like a more.
It's
Like
on the Switch too.
Oh, really? So they have like a
Yeah.
new version of the game. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I bought it on the Switch. I had.
Yeah, it's one of those things, nostalgia works, right? Um, but okay, so we talked about our first consoles. How about all of the consoles you've ever had? So what did you have after you had the NES?
My little brother had a Genesis. He also had a Super Nintendo. My next console after that was a PlayStation 1. Got a PS2. I remember my niece had an Xbox. Like I came home to visit family for Christmas and she had an Xbox and I fell in love. And I still have it. I don't know if it's worth anything. But I have one of the original Xboxes, but it's the green Halo version with like the Halo decal on it. Like the controller has a Halo decal in the middle of it. It's probably not worth anything, but it's cool to me still. Xbox 360, PS3, PS4 Pro, Xbox One, transitioned to a One X, and then I'm got a Switch a couple years ago, and now I'm lucky and fortunate. I have both a Series X and a PS5.
It's very lucky because of how hard those have been to find.
Yeah, you guys. I think you guys knew when when they first came out. I kept trying. I had no luck. You got yours first, and I was kind of jealous about that. And then I got the Series X first, and then I got the PS5 after. Both because of a person on Twitter, not a person, but a thing on Twitter. That kind of would send out these blasts of who had stock and when they were coming available. And I got lucky enough to snag one of each.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you had a lot of the systems. So I've had a Sega Genesis. I went from that to, well, at the same time as that, I had a Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance. My next system, though, was a PlayStation 2. So I had to really ride that Sega Genesis out for quite a long time.
That's a gap.
I got a PlayStation 2 for Christmas in either 2001 or 2002. It was a gift for me and my dad. And the first game I remember getting with that was, Gran Turismo 3 came with it. And then there was also, I had Madden 2002 with Dante Culpepper on the front. And I remember my dad playing that with me and him being like, wow, this looks so real. It can't get any better than this. So, of course, now graphics are even more insane. Then I had a Nintendo DS, an Xbox 360, a PS4, a Nintendo 3DS, a Nintendo Switch, a PS5, and a PC as well, which I'm recording on right here. But yeah, so I had a long gap between Sega and PlayStation 2. Really had the Game Boy to help tide me over on that too, to play some more, modern games. And then, the gap also between PS2 and Xbox 360, that was a long console. The PS2 and Xbox lasted a while. Not as long as, I guess, the 360 and PS3 lasted a long time as well. And then I was making the switch back to PlayStation for a reason that I'll get into later on in these questions here. But yeah, when it comes to the Nintendo, oh, you know what? I have a Nintendo Wii somewhere in there as well after I graduated high school. So I did have that as well.
You know what? I forgot. I did have a Wii. I had a DS and I had the original PSP as well.
Oh, I had a PSP as well. But I forgot to put that down on here. I didn't play that as much. The only game I really played on that was Marvel Ultimate Alliance on the PSP.
The DS and my PSP I played while I was deployed to Iraq.
Oh, right, yeah.
So pretty much once I got back, I really didn't touch them anymore. And then eventually I sold them because I didn't touch them anymore.
Right. Yeah, it was probably easier to do those type of consoles than having like a a main console, like a home console over in Iraq, right?
Well, this was the early days, so yeah. Eventually, my last tour, I had a 360 out there and a little flat screen. We were able to get a hold of stuff like that.
In like your own room, or was it in like a room with everything?
They call them
else?
C huts, so it was like two of us to a room,
Okay.
like a little trailer. We basically split it in half. Two of us got a little spot.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, let me add those in there. PSP, Wii. Yeah, the Wii I didn't play as much. Yeah, I played Wii Sports. That was the game I really wanted on it. But other than that, I didn't really play too much.
I did the Wii Fit for a while, and then
Mm-hmm.
after that, for me the Wii was a little weird just because the motion, like, I get why everybody liked it and the motion controls were great, but for me, I just wasn't really into the motion controls that much. So I eventually, and plus for me, I was really into graphics and stuff like that. So as the 360 and the PS3, started getting better stuff, like, for me, it just kind of forced me to leave the Wii behind a little bit.
Right. Let's see. Okay, another question. We have so current consoles. Mine right now that I am playing is Switch, PS5, PC. You mentioned you have the Xbox. What's the newest one called? Series
X. I got a Series X, PS5, and a
Switch.
Switch. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do this. We have. You're saying about how lucky I got for the PS5. I got that like the day pre-orders launched. I was very fortunate. I came home from work. I had to be in the office that day instead of working from home. That was the one day in the week that I was in the office at that point. And I had, they were not supposed to go live that day, like the pre-orders, for whatever reason. They were supposed to go live at midnight.
Was this day they announced it? Was E3 or whatever day Sony announced it?
No, it was like a day in September, I think. They had done like another.
They were doing another push because I know when they initially
they were doing another
it,
push.
I want to say, what was it, E3 maybe, or somewhere around there, where all of a sudden it came out, and then Walmart and a couple other retailers jumped the gun, started doing pre-orders, and then,
that was the day. It wasn't E3 though. I think they had. It was like this other. They did like one of those whatever they call
Directs.
it. Yeah, whatever they're calling it. And I remember they showed off like the new Harry Potter game that they're working on. They did some other games that they were showing off there, and then they were like finally revealing the price, I think is what it was. And then they were like pre-orders coming like midnight or whatever. And then Walmart jumped the gun, GameStop jumped the gun. So I came home, I'm on Reddit, and people are like, I'm eating dinner after working, and they're like, I went to my GameStop, I walked in, I was able to put down a pre-order. So I'm like, okay, GameStop's right across the street. I'm going to walk over there, and I'm going to put in an order. I get in there, there's like 20 people in there, and as soon as I walk in, they're like, we only have 4 left that they could take pre-orders for. So I was like, great. So I was like, there goes my whole plan. I turned around, went home, and just endlessly scrolling on stuff like, where's it going live next? It hasn't gone live on Amazon. And I'm laying in bed at like 11:45, 11:50, getting ready to go to bed, scrolling, and somebody that I follow for like Funko News, right, posts on there like, here's the Amazon link. It's live now. Get it. And I click it, and it's a link where it automatically already puts it in your cart too. So it's like already in my cart. And then all I had to do was remove it, put both in my cart, the cloud version and the disc version. So I removed the cloud version, click continue, put in the order, and I got the confirmation. And I was like, holy smokes. And I was like, okay, we'll see if I actually get this on launch though. I'm like, I'm not like ready to buy into that
You're going to be one of the lucky ones?
Yes, yeah. So until it actually told me it shipped, I would keep telling people, I think I got a PlayStation 5 coming. Like, I don't know if it'll actually get here or not. Like, I put in an order. I saw other people getting orders canceled through other outlets, not Amazon. And I was like, well, maybe that's going to happen to me. And luckily it didn't. And I had got the Miles Morales PS5 Spider-Man game for launch. And Astro's Playroom, when that console came in, and I put that in, and I started playing Astro's Playroom, and I got my wife down there, and literally, that is what we played the whole night of launch. Like, we're both up there. We were up until 1 or 2 on a Thursday night or whatever, Thursday or Friday, whatever it came in, and I'm just like passing her the remote and then like the controller, and she's taking her turn on Astros, and then I was like, this game rocks. And I really want them to come out with the standalone sequel.
Yeah, like a full-fledged game.
Yes, a full game. Yes.
So, I like I said, I was able. Twitter helped me get mine. I remember I was at work, and you're right. It wasn't E3 when they did the final announcement with the price and pre-orders going live. It was something else. And I remember I was at work, and I remember they announced it, and Sony themselves were like, "Oh, pre-orders are going to start at this time or whatever." So let's go back a little bit. Between both Sony and Microsoft, they were kind of playing this game of chicken on announcing price and like release dates. And I guess like they were trying to wait for one to go first so the other one could cut the other one off. It was this weird game of chicken, right? So I was at work, and like I'm like loading my truck up because I'm a mailman, loading my truck up, checking things out. And next thing you know, it's like, oh, these retailers jumped the gun. They're live in some places. So I kept trying nothing. Same thing with Microsoft. Microsoft put out a thing. They weren't going to have the same issues, but they kind of had the same issues.
Yep. Everybody said the same thing.
So it was December, I want to say. Whatever thing it was I'm following on Twitter, like PS5 in stock alerts or something. I had been following him for a while, but I kept missing out because I didn't have alerts to actually ring me on my phone. For like, you can go on to Twitter and you can set up for certain people to like, if whenever they tweet, like you'll get that alert right away. And
yes, you should do that for us when you follow us.
So I never did. Like by the time like I would get home and then I would look and be like, oh, like an hour before, like, oh, it's live at this place, and then I would go and it'd be sold out. Dang. So I finally set it up the night before, and I'm driving, and I'm coming up to a set of mailboxes, and I got a smartwatch, so I looked down at my smartwatch because I got a ding, and it was like, oh, the Series X is in stock at Best Buy. And I was like, ooh. And I looked at it, so I pulled up, and I'm getting ready to deliver the mail, but I'm like, let me stop for a minute, look through, and it's like it's for pickup only. They weren't shipping. So you might have to drive. You got to find one within your distance, whatever. Okay, cool. So I get in there, and Best Buy, I think Best Buy's thing was pretty good because you actually had to be signed into your Best Buy account, right? To make sure you weren't a bot. They sent, and you only were able to get one. It's sending a code to your email, and then you had a certain amount of time to put that code in to verify it was you in order for you to actually buy it. So I did that, put it in, okay, and it says it went through. And I was like, okay, this is great. And about that time where I was thinking to myself, but I got a little ding alert from my credit card saying, you were just charged this amount, like for fraud prevention. Like, is this correct? And I was like, yes, it is. So I got out of work and I drove 45 minutes in the opposite direction to go to a Best Buy to pick up a Series X, and that guy was hot when he was dropping it off in my car. He's like, man, I've been trying to get one of these forever. Sorry, dude. Played that for a while. Finally, when I kept trying for the PS5, kept getting, like, every time I would go to try and add it to a cart or whatever, it was always sold out, or it was sold out within minutes. I got it through Sam's Club, where it was like 10:45 at night. I'm about to go to bed. My phone dings for an alert. I look at it. Oh, there's PS5 bundles at Sam's Club, but you have to buy a bundle. let me get up and go check this on the computer. So I go to the computer. I look at it. It's a bundle. It's got Miles Morales. It's got the PS5 version of the original Spider-Man. And it's got like an extra controller. And I'm like, that's a bundle I can live with because I'm not really like, those are all things I'm going to buy anyway. Sure enough, I'm thinking, I'll probably add it to the cart and that's when it'll, glitch out on me. And it didn't. And next thing you know, I get another ding. Hey, you were just charged this amount. I was like, oh man, I got lucky. 2 weeks later, it shipped and I was able to get both.
Yeah, that's I've not yet gotten a I've not yet gotten a an Xbox. I'm not sure if I will, just because a lot of those games are also coming to PC. So as long as this PC holds up for me, I should be able to play most of the games that come out on there. Big games anyway.
Yeah, I don't do PC gaming, so I only do consoles myself. So for me, I kind of gotta have both because there's exclusives on one or the other. And then I'll do some research whenever a new game comes out, see if it's works or functions better, or if there's something better on one console or the other. But
yeah, that's I used to not do PC. I really built this one for like streaming like content and being able to like play games on it to stream and stuff. So that's been, and it's also been nice for, the podcasting and stuff that we've been doing on it. But yeah, this is, but now I can kind of use it to use it to play some of these games that I haven't had a chance to do. All right, so let's go ahead and get to, I have like 5 maybe here that I have listed, but favorite games of all time. So I have 5. I mean, there's more than that I could probably list if I really wanted to go off, but I'll let you go ahead first, Casey, if you want, if you're ready. If not, I can go.
In no particular order, right? God of War 2018. The story and everything that went along with that is absolutely fantastic. Grand Theft Auto 3. Not the updated version that is very upsetting because I did buy that. But the original Grand Theft Auto 3 kind of, it changed a lot of things in gaming as far as open world and various other things. Metal Gear, the original Metal Gear Solid. That was one of the first games I remember getting for the PS1, and it was just absolutely amazing. And Hideo Kojima he's a whack job, but his games can be good. GTA 5, I think, is another one that is probably, it gets a lot of credit, and I've already got 2 versions of it, and I will probably get a 3rd version when they come out with the version for the PS5 and the Series X here next year. That's it for now. Go ahead. I got to come up with a 4th one or 5th one.
Let's see. I have. I don't know about any sort of order right here, but I have to put as one of my favorite franchises is Pokemon. So I do have that up there. I'm not sure if I didn't really pick a specific Pokemon game, but it's up there. Constantly playing Pokemon. And then I have The Witcher 3. I have that up there for me. I have the new Spider-Man from Insomniac. I have Mass Effect 2 up there, and Knights of the Old Republic, Star Wars, up there. So, so far those are like my top 5. I also really, and I'll, I'll share more examples for other games I really like in this next question I have. But those are like my top games that I always like to come back to. Playing. I'm really looking forward to Spider-Man 2 when that comes out. I really enjoyed the Miles Morales game as well, but playing that first one for Spider-Man, it's actually my favorite representation of Spider-Man outside of comics. Like, this is my favorite interpretation of the character, more than the movies, more than the cartoons or anything. I feel like they really nailed Spider-Man as a character in that video game. So it's up there. Mass Effect 2, I just got around to Mass Effect as a series. I played the first one on Xbox 360 for only like the first level, that first planet you're on, and then kind of gave up on it, and then got the Red Ring of Death not long after, so couldn't even go back to it if I wanted to. And that was my second time with the Red Ring, and at that point, I just kind of moved on to, I think I already had my PS4, so I think I was just playing like the Xbox on some games that I couldn't get on PS4 at that point. And they just recently released the Legendary Edition of Mass Effect that has all 3 games. I got it on Steam for $40.
Is the Legendary Edition your first real jump into the whole Mass Effect universe?
Yeah, I mean, other than the time where I played for like an hour of that first game, it was my first time. I haven't played Andromeda yet. I bought it. I did buy it for $7, so I will play it.
Okay,
but
you know what? I'll say
it's a good
after
deal.
This long, at $7 is definitely worth it. So I've been on. I would say the Mass Effect series in general would probably be my 5th game. I got Mass Effect 1. Played 1, 2, and 3. Great games. Got Andromeda when it first came out. Was severely disappointed by that. Between some glitches and various things that were happening. I'd also say they've been talking for years about remastering Mass Effect. So when they finally fully announced it and it came out earlier this year, my hopes weren't very high. And then I got a hold of the game. And it is quite fantastic. Right now, I just started Mass Effect 3. Mm-hmm. And the ability to import the same character that you had in 1 to go to 2 and then to go to 3 and then to get whatever extra credits and various other level ups, but just to keep the same character and everything. The Mass Effect series is such a good series, except for Andromeda.
I have what I really liked about it too is, so BioWare also made another game on that list called Knights of the Old Republic. It was really their first foray into what would eventually lead them down the road to Mass Effect. And what I thought was really cool is just almost having like a modern, updated Knights of the Old Republic is what it kind of felt like to me when I'm playing this game. And then, once I got to a certain point, because it doesn't really grab me right away. The first game with that first planet where you're just killing Geth and then having to figure out what's going on and all that kind of stuff didn't grab me right away. That's like the first 45 to an hour. And especially I'd already played it before on the 360, that same part. So I'm like, all right, this is all the same to me. Like, let me get through this. Once I got to the Citadel, is when I really started enjoying that game. And I was like, all right, this is great. I am going to have fun with this. And then, like, I'm very glad the Legendary Edition was the one that I played first, really, like, to complete them all, because it just being able to import my saves with no issues, not having to worry about anything with that. And the stuff that it changed, like a decision I made in the first game all the way over to the third game.
Can come back, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, geez, that is so amazing. And really how much they went on to that, how much they changed at that level of what they were doing in Knights of the Old Republic before they get into Mass Effect, and like how these games are really only, I think, 4 years apart. I think Knights of the Old Republic is 03 and Mass Effect 1 was 07. So like it really is like only 4 years apart in the leaps that they took to really do it. And it just, Mass Effect 2 in particular is my favorite for the story. I really enjoyed playing that game a lot. When I bought these, I think it was like August or September, and I literally just every Saturday and Sunday sat in this room for about 8 to 10 hours every Saturday and Sunday, and just put on sports on my TV up here, and then just sat here, playing the game and really delving into the story. And I really just like the universe as a whole. So I think I will enjoy at least parts of Andromeda. The aliens, being back in the Mass Effect, world, I guess. But I just had a really great time with it. And like I said, the things that it can just, the domino effects that it had. There was even something like little small I did in number 1, where I was in number 2, and I ran into somebody that I had like a conversation with in the first game, and they were at a planet in the second game, and they were like, "Oh, hey, remember when you did that for me?" And I was like, "Geez, like that's crazy." Sure. That they, that they remembered me, or whatever, that the character was there and remembered what I had done, and the stuff that they were writing down and saving in my data to be like, "Oh yeah, let's bring that up next time." Like that's insane. Especially for that early of a game. And, they're working on a revival of it. I'm not sure if it's like what it's going to be called. It's the 5th game in the series because of Andromeda, but is it going to be Mass Effect 4? Or are they just going with a different name? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. I think we're probably several years away from it, and that's absolutely fine. I don't want anything like a couple of games I've just bought within the last year. 2 games in the last year I just bought that were kind of dumpster fires. We can't have that happening. I think game studios are starting to realize that. I might as well just say it. I was all on the Cyberpunk train before that thing came out, and I pre-ordered it, and then the reviews started coming out, and they started talking about how fishy it was, that there was nothing for like they couldn't review the console version. And,
yes, they could only let them review the PC. Yeah.
Yeah, and all the PC versions were the ones that were like they were like top-notch PCs, so everything was working fantastically. And then all the info about the base PS4 and Xbox One versions came out, and it was just garbage. Like they should truly be ashamed of themselves for releasing that game for those consoles. What's even worse is those are the consoles they originally were making those games for.
Mm-hmm.
When Cyberpunk first was announced and started being developed, it was meant for the PS4 and Xbox One. And they just screwed it all up. The GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition is another one. Same thing. I pre-ordered it. I got the digital version because it came out a month ahead of time. I think the version on disc was supposed to come out now. It's supposed to be coming out in the next couple of days, and it got delayed. And that thing was a dumpster fire. It's still good for nostalgia purposes, but there's just some things where you look at it and you're like, how could you release this game in this state? Very frustrating.
Yeah. I've heard things about both of those. I think I'm more willing to give the GTA one a little bit more slack because I'm not sure. Like they just really upgraded a little bit of textures and stuff, but at least right? That's all they were really doing.
Well, and they gave it to whoever did mobile ports of their games like 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. So it's actually not Rockstar making it. They gave it to another company to do. And they've been doing patches for it, so it's been getting a little bit better. I haven't seen it. I haven't played it in about a week, but a new patch just came out for it not that long ago. So it's supposed to help out with some of the stuff. Cyberpunk, on the other hand, there's just the bad thing is there's a good story and there is a great game in Cyberpunk.
Mm-hmm.
It's there, and there's so much to do, but they just bungled it so bad.
Yeah, and that's a shame too because they really put together one of those games on my list here, Witcher 3. I'm guessing though, for whatever reason, something just went wrong with Cyberpunk, because it was pushed back several times. It was in development after
For
they
like
came
8
out with
years.
Witcher 3. They were like, "Oh yeah, we're making Cyberpunk, by the way." Because I remember hearing about it when I was playing Witcher 3, and I'm like, "Oh wow, they're coming out with a new game. That'll be cool to like take a look at." But I never went and picked it up because I just heard so much stuff, and I'm sure at some point, I mean, like, it was bad enough where Sony took it off their shop. Like, you
Yeah.
cannot buy it on Sony's game store.
You can now. It's been listed again. But
Okay, good.
I think when it got listed, I think there is a warning on it stating that it may not run that well on base model PS4s. Just so people know. But yeah, they had a whole debacle where they, like you said, it got delisted on the PlayStation Store. They were doing refunds. Xbox and Sony were doing refunds even for digital versions of the game.
And they never do refunds on stuff.
Yeah, like,
on digital stuff.
Yeah, I know Steam has like a 2-hour refund policy or whatever. Like, it's something very small, but the Xbox and Sony, they don't have it. But yeah, they sure enough, they were doing refunds there. It was bad. And then just the glitches and how poorly it performed on those consoles was bad.
Yeah, that was such a shame. And I think you're right. They're starting to get that they can't do this because, BioWare had made Anthem, which had a bad track record as well.
They had Mass Effect Andromeda before that.
Yes, yep. And what I've heard from people online is that they understand now the pressure they're on for Dragon Age 4, which they're doing right now, and they just had their creative director leave for that too. But it was originally going to be a games as service and is now getting shifted into single player game because of some of the feedback from Anthem and all that. And I think that'll only be better for going forward. I think we were at the worst part of video games, and we're starting to get back into the good stuff now. Like, and by bad stuff, I mean games being rushed out just for pre-orders and
quarterly projections, and profits.
And that stuff still happens, but I think we'll get a better game than we would have years ago.
I think now, after the backlash from Cyberpunk, and after all the issues that Rockstar is having for Grand Theft Auto trilogy, I think developers and people who make the games are starting to realize like they can't do that anymore. Like, you used to be able to make a bad game and just have a couple patches and you'd be good to go. But now they're realizing like, no, like people are gonna uproar and people are gonna want their money back, and you can't just like a lot of like I'm not even mad when I see, especially with the pandemic going on. There's been a lot of oh, we're gonna have to delay this game for 6 months, a year, and all that's great. Some of it they're saying they want the people who make the games to have a work-life balance, and that's great. And I'm sure some of that's true. But I think a lot more of it might have to do with they're realizing they can't afford to put out a bad game anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those, they saw the blowback from Cyberpunk. They saw the blowback from Grand Theft Auto. They saw the stuff that happened with Anthem and Mass Effect. And every time it happens, it's getting louder and louder. And it's getting more and more attention. And customers aren't willing to stand for it anymore. So, like, the one I have confidence in is God of War. They will take their time with that one. They will release it whenever it is absolutely ready. Not a day before. And I have no doubt that will be a great game when it releases.
Yeah, I have a lot of faith in just Sony as a whole because they've really put the Sony developed games. That's what they're known for, is just having, like really good games, and they don't usually release like a broken game. Like when Spider-Man came out, there wasn't really anything like game breaking about it. When not Left Behind. What was I going to say? Last of Us came out. There wasn't really anything breaking about that. You know, like they'll take their time with it. They'll put it out, and they'll get the good reviews because they take their, you know, they've been developing these games for a while, and they kind of know what they're expecting. It's usually the third-party games, I feel like, that I guess because they don't have the funding of the major studio, where they have to kind of put out those games in order to get the money. And I think that might be the problem.
Well, the one thing I'm hoping that doesn't happen for now, another game I should add to the list is Fallout 3. I love Fallout 3. So that's probably one of my all-time favorite games. But Bethesda's games have had a lot of janky issues, especially on consoles. I don't know about on PC. But Bethesda's games have had a lot of issues a lot of times on consoles when they first release. But now that Microsoft has bought them and can actually fund them a little bit better and basically tell them, no, we're going to wait until this game is fully ready. I'm looking forward to the upcoming batch of Bethesda games that are coming out.
Yeah, because they got bought by Xbox, right? Microsoft?
Yeah, Microsoft bought them. So Starfield is one that's coming up that has some decent potential.
Okay, let's get to the next question. Favorite type of game to play? I'll go first to kind of show you what I'm meaning in this. So my favorite type of game, why I went back to PlayStation 4, from Xbox 360 to PS4, is I play a lot of single-player story games. And really, that's what Sony is king of. When you look at Microsoft, usually lots of first-person shooters or multiplayer-type games that people use it for. I'm more of and I'll give examples here. You mentioned Witcher, we mentioned KOTOR, Mass Effect, but like LA Noire, which is also in Xbox as well, but I really enjoy LA Noire and like Heavy Rain. Really enjoy Heavy Rain for PlayStation. Games like that, Last of Us I just mentioned. Ghost of Tsushima, which is on my list here of games that I want to play. I have it. I haven't had time to sit down and play it. But these games where you're mostly, it doesn't really have a multiplayer mode. You're sitting there and the whole part is just taking in the story. Until Dawn, that's a top game for mine too, if anybody's played that. It is a game kind of like a horror film where you're up in a cabin in the snow with your friends, and you have to get these group of teenagers together to serve. The goal is to keep all of them alive throughout the end game, and you can keep either all of them alive or you can't. And it's very story based, but one thing you do here makes a thing happen later on with the butterfly effect and all that they have in that game, and it's really interesting. But that's one of the favorite my types of games to play. Another type that I have listed here is simulation games. One of my favorite times growing up was playing Roller Coaster Tycoon on PC as a kid. That's up there, like Zoo Tycoon. I have Parkitect, which is like a old school. It's a new version of like old school Roller Coaster Tycoon. Like it's very inspired by Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 with updated graphics, and not like Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 where they tried to go all like 3D models and everything. Like just, very huge overworld. Let me be able to plop my stuff down on the grid, have a good time. Another good one is Game Dev Tycoon. I don't know if anybody's played that, but it's where you make a little like a little game developer studio, and you start in like the ages of like Atari and start making games, and you can keep going to like Xbox and PS5 now and all that kind of stuff, and make a game and be like, I'm making an RPG that's also a Western, and then get to name it and get reviews and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of fun. But those type of games are like, the next thing underneath of my like single player games, is simulation. Those are like my top two games I love playing.
So for me, I do. Let's see. What am I playing? I definitely do the same thing, kind of like the single player narrative driven games. You know, Spider-Man, Last of Us, stuff like that. Mass Effect, things like that. I'll do first person and third person shooters. That's pretty much about it. Uh, I've, I've in the last several years I've narrowed down the kind of games that I've played because I just started getting disenfranchised with some of them. So
What's one that you've gotten disenfranchised with? Just games as a whole, or like the certain type of game?
So I don't do online sports games, right?
Yeah, I don't do online stuff.
I don't do online games, period. Occasionally I'll hop on like Call of Duty or something online, but usually by the time I do, I'm so low level and everyone's so high, and I get beat so easy, and it's very frustrating. Don't do sports games online because by the time there's always a glitch or a team or a person that is way better in the game than they should be, and then you end up playing nothing but that team all over the place. Like that's all that every time you go online to play like a random person, that's all they want to do. So can't really do that. And just sports games in general. I found I was really into the NCAA football, but they had to stop that for licensing reasons. And then after that, I did Madden for a couple more years, but they weren't changing enough in Madden year to year for me to say it's worth spending $60 on, or now it's going to be $70 every single year,
right?
To keep buying the new game. And they've even done research on it where they're using like the same graphics. A couple of times they've kept like the same they've kept some of the same backgrounds and things in the game where like people in the crowd will hold signs that they were holding the year before that they didn't change dates on and stuff. And like, that's just frustrating. Like, I get it. You're trying to make a new game every year and maybe to innovate, or that's not enough time. But when basically you could, I could just keep the same game. If you want to charge me like $20 to get like updated rosters and maybe a couple more things, I go along with that. But I'm not paying $60 for a new Madden every year. That's not as good as they were in years past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've stopped playing Madden every year. I still get FIFA every year. I don't have as much time to play them now, though. That's kind of my problem right now. But I used to get like every sports game every year, and that's just a drain. Like you said, like
I used to get 2K, Madden, and NCAA every year.
Yeah, what I do now is I got one version of last year for Christmas. I got NBA 2K that had come out that year for PS5, and I said, all right, that's probably going to be my NBA game for PS5. I will drag that out because I usually do career mode anyway, so I'll be playing my guy, and I'm not going to worry about rosters. I'm going to be just trying to win, an NBA championship, and then. Same thing with Madden. I'll probably get like a PS5 version of a game this year or next year and be like, all right, that's my Madden for this generation. Same thing with the show, MLB The Show. So we'll see how it goes that way. But, I used to play like this will go into the next question, which is least favorite type of game to play. Right now for me, it's like multiplayer, online, first-person shooters. If I'm not the reason I kind of got turned off from multiplayer online stuff anyway is because I used to live with my parents and the internet there sucked. So if I was playing online, I was the one lagging everybody, and they'd always be like, who's lagging us? And I'd be like, I know it's me, my internet sucks, like whatever. And playing like Halo and Halo 3 and stuff on my 360 would constantly just drag in people down. It was more fun. Like I would have fun playing Halo with like if we had like 4 people over and we all had a controller and we're doing it that way. That'd be fun. But online stuff, online sports, same thing. Like if I'm playing FIFA online and my input lags because of internet and I press shoot and he doesn't do it until 2 seconds later, well, the chance is gone. Like, so you have to start thinking in the terms of, okay, I have to press it this far in advance to make sure he shoots it at the right time. Like, you know, it would start really ruining stuff like that. So just kind of gave up on online stuff. And first person shooters I'm terrible at anyway. Like I really am. So, you know, I did play occasionally still some. I like Star Wars Battlefront. Love playing those type of games because I'm not just like a regular like U.S. Army person. I'm a stormtrooper, or I'm a battle droid, or I'm a, you know. So that makes it a little bit more interesting and having the heroes and stuff like that. But other than that, I don't really play. I've never played a Call of Duty. The closest thing I had was Medal of Honor back on PS2. But I, again, played like the story mode in that, and I didn't have any sort of hookup for internet on PlayStation 2 at all. So I was just, you know, doing that. But yeah, other than that, that's kind of like my least favorite game right now. I'll play a lot of other stuff. I'll play platformers. I'll play like Astro Playroom was so good because it was just this great platformer that I was able to share with my wife, who never really plays video games. Just be like, hey, you know, she was having fun with it. The controller for the PS5 really shined in that game, and again, that's why I really hope that we get like just a standalone game, a full game of that.
So for me, there's 2 types of games I absolutely just do not and will not play. One is a JRPG. Just not my thing. Can't do it.
That's true. I don't really play any JRPGs either.
The other is indie games. I know developers and people who make these games have to start somewhere, and this is no knock on them, but I can't do an indie game. Like I can't do it. Not saying they're bad. I have levels and standards I have to meet. I just can't do those.
I can play indie games. It depends on the game, though. There's some indie games. I'm not even sure if I've ever actually played some, but I've definitely looked at some that I'm like, oh, this looks like a good game, but it's like, am I going to put $20 on it right now? Maybe not. I mean, there's some games that have started as indie games that, you know, become bigger things. Like I think Among Us was probably an indie game at some point.
Never played it.
That's a fun game. It's a fun game.
I've heard, but I never played it.
Yeah, that is like my one, I guess, multiplayer game I would play. But again, I'm usually playing it with like when we were playing it. Yeah, I'm usually playing with friends, or like last holiday season, it was my sister, my nephew, my future brother-in-law, and me and my wife. You know, just sitting here playing Among Us on our phones, which is fun. You know, PlayStation just came out with a version that is very similar to it. It was for free on the PS Gold thing, like the PS Plus. I'm trying to find it now, because when I was looking at it, I was like, this is like, I don't know, a high def version of Among Us. Like, it's called, what's it called? Sorry, I'm just going to my PS app to look at First Class Trouble. It looks like it's like a party game where players must work together and against each other to survive a disaster. So you're either a human resident or a rebellious personoid. So I guess some people would be the robots that are trying to do something bad. And some would be the actual residents that are humans, and you do stuff like that. But see, I'll do those type of thing, party games, where I feel like that wouldn't really, like, if I had a lag, which I don't really at my house now, but if I had a lag, I feel like that thing doesn't disrupt me as much as, like, you know, I'm walking along somewhere and I have a perfect shot lined up, and then I'm about to take it and the game lags and the guy kills me instead or something. So, or being on like a team in that sense. Upcoming games you are looking forward to. So I have my list here. I have, how many is this? Six games. I have they're doing a remake of Knights of the Old Republic on PS5 and PC, and I think it might be a timed release to Xbox.
Yeah, I think it's exclusive for PS5 for at least a period of time, if not for sure. But so hey, that was kind of a shock when I saw that one.
Yeah, especially because it started as an Xbox, exclusive. But yeah, Knights of the Old Republic remake, the Mass Effect sequel we talked about, whatever that'll be, Mass Effect 4, just a launch of a new thing. They hinted at, finding Shepard's chest plate, I guess, with the N7 logo. So I'm assuming. I'm not assuming Shepard's alive. I'm still going to say we're going post Shepard being dead or whatever, but I guess we'll find out.
Here's a question before you move on.
Yeah.
And it's something I had, one of the podcasts I listened to that talked about, this was a long time ago. Would you want to play as another race in the next Mass Effect? Like, would you want to stay as a human, or would you want to play as a Quarian or one of those other alien races? Would you want to maybe see a perspective see things from their perspective, or would you rather stay as a human?
I think the difficult thing would be that they would want. The reason why we usually use a human character in space stories and stuff is because it's easier to connect to a human. Because you're looking at somebody that looks like yourself, and you're like, I'm inserting myself into the story. Yeah. But now, if there was an option where when we're doing, customization where you could choose male or female, but you could choose, I'm going to be, an alien, or I'm going to be a human, that'd be great. I think that might really create some issues with the story, though, like, because then they'll have to come up with, every time a person also has to say to you about, like, oh, you're a blank species and not like human, like how they have especially Mass Effect, the first 3 games really look down at humans, in space. So that would make it a little harder, I think, if you were going to have where you have the option. But I think ideally I'd like to have the option, and then that could create even more options when I want to replay the game. But I think I would mostly prefer to stay as a human that maybe is almost like living in the shadow of Commander Shepard or something.
Yeah.
I think that might be good.
Like for me, even though I'll never do it, I can get in the mindset of being like the first human Spectre, or being, part of, like in Andromeda, being part of the human race that goes off to the Andromeda galaxy, right? Even though I'll never do it, but I can kind of get the gist of it because I'm a human. And then when I make my decisions, like, I always go Paragon. I always go good guy with these things. And every now and then, like, I think, oh, well, if I'll play it again and I'll play Renegade. And I never play it a second time because they take forever, right? So you usually get one playthrough out of the games. But there's always the option to play, and you can be a jerk the next time through.
That's what I'm doing right now with Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, or like that, you can go light side, dark side.
Yeah, I'm doing dark side right now.
I don't know if I could get in the mindset of any number of alien races to, not the podcast I listened to, a couple of them were saying, yeah, they would want to try that. And I mean, hey, if you want to try that, hey, good luck on you. But for me, I'd rather just stick with the good old humans and, go from there.
I think the choice would be nice for people that really want to try it. And then, like, the default would be human, but then you're able to, like, choose, no, I want to be, like a Asari, but that would only be for females, right? Because they're only females. But I want to be a Solarian or a Turian, Krogan. Could you imagine playing like as a Krogan or something? That'd be fun. But I'm also looking forward to, this is in January, Pokemon Legends Arceus is coming out. Sometime soon, Spider-Man 2, where you play as Miles and Pete, is going to be a lot of fun, I think. Insomniac has also announced they're making a Wolverine game, so that has jumped up on my list. And the game Hogwarts Legacy, which kind of sounds like the Mass Effect or KOTOR of Harry Potter. You're a wizard in like the 1800s, so you can kind of choose if you're going to become good wizard, bad wizard type of thing. That's supposed to be sometime in the next year or so. So those are like the games at the top of my list right now that I'm like, okay, those are like day ones for me that I'm getting.
All right, for me, number one is God of War Ragnarok. Without a shadow of a doubt, that's the thing I'm looking forward to most. Ghostwire Tokyo, which has been delayed like 3 or 4 times already. Kind of interested in. Redfall, I have a little interest in. I definitely pick up the new Advance Wars for the Switch whenever that comes out. Vampire the Masquerade 2 is supposed to come out hopefully sometime next year. I wouldn't mind giving that a try. Let's see. No, nothing. February, March. No. Stalker, Hearts of Chernobyl. I'd be willing to give a try. Not looking to the new Saints Row. Starfield for November 11th. I would definitely. I'm definitely looking forward to. And that might be about it. I've never played a Pokemon game, so I don't know about those.
They're awesome. Well, I mean, obviously, it depends on the type of games you play. But for me as a collector, like I collect all kinds of stuff, having to collect like hundreds of Pokemon is right up my alley. But yeah, this one is supposed to be the new one that they're making is looks really great, so I'm really excited for that. But yeah, I mean, and then any current, what are you currently playing right now, Casey?
All right, so right now I am trying to make my way through GTA 3, the Definitive Edition. This is gonna sound weird. I just bought earlier this year Skyrim for the first time. I know there are people out there who own like 10 different versions of Skyrim.
Yes, because it's on every console ever made.
Including the joke is, and I think
they even put it on Sega Genesis.
You can even put it on like you can play it on a refrigerator now or something.
Yeah.
But I bought that earlier this year, and then I paid the extra $20 for the upgrade. I think I got it for free because I had like some Best Buy points, and it was like $10 or something. Mm-hmm. So like, I don't think I paid for the original game, the anniversary edition. So Skyrim, I'm still going through Assassin's Creed Valhalla because that game seems like it's going to take 600 hours to make it through. That is probably, and I'm looking at Halo when that comes out here next week. I'll be picking that up.
Okay. I am currently playing, I've talked about it a few times on here. I'm currently playing Knights of the Old Republic. I'm doing a full Dark Side run that I'm also videoing and putting up on YouTube. If you look up Youngster Jordan on YouTube, you will find all of my so far. Like, I've recorded 9 episodes. I think nine will be posted by Thursday of this week. So there's 9 episodes of that. Currently playing Pokemon Diamond, Brilliant Diamond, which I'm also doing a Nuzlocke of on YouTube, which means if the Pokemon faints, they are dead. I can't use them anymore. So that is what I've been doing on, and I'm naming them all after Crayola crayon colors. And my guy's name is Crayola, and my my rival's named Rosart. So I'm having a lot of fun with that. And then just kind of like offline, I am pretty much playing Brilliant Diving on my other Switch profile. Just a more relaxing run. I don't really have anything else I'm playing right now. Like those are like the two things I'm playing because I've taken a break from everything else. Like once I was done Mass Effect 1 through 3, I was like taking a little bit of a gaming break because I was a whole month of me like for 4 weeks just sitting up here every Saturday and Sunday, like not moving, playing those games.
At like 40 hours a piece, I'm doing Mass Effect 3 right now as well, but at like 40 hours a piece, man, that can add up. And especially as you get to 2 and 3, you can do so much more in a lot of them.
Yes, one very streamlined. I'm gonna replay them all for sure because I definitely want to see. I kept Rex alive in my playthroughs, but it's amazing then because I get to see him in, even in Mass Effect 3. But if you can lose him in Mass Effect 1, so I'm very curious. Okay, what happens as I go if I lose some of these characters. And save some of the ones that have died in my runs. I didn't really lose a character, though, except for some of the side characters in the second game.
Punch the reporter next time. You can punch a reporter in there.
Oh, can I? Yeah. I haven't done that.
If you want to go full renegade, during one of the things where you're getting interviewed,
you can just punch her.
Yeah, like if you hit the one of the triggers or whatever, you can punch a reporter. You can be a real jerk in that game. So
the reporter that follows you in the third game in the place, or like the one that's like interviewing you in the second or game or whatever.
I think it's in the first or second game.
Okay.
I know. There's 2 reporters you deal with in the third game. One of them is actually Jessica Chobot, who works for IGN. So like.
Oh really?
Yeah. She actually got famous because she made this picture when the PSP first came out of her licking it. She's a very attractive woman. Don't get me wrong, but like that whole thing like kind of rose her to fame from there. But she works for IGN or something, and she got put in the game somehow. So.
Oh yeah, she's the one that follows you in the game. She's in like the bottom of the ship in the third. In the third game that you can like invite up. I think you can actually romance her too. I haven't done that. I will tell you, I was romancing. The original plan was in game 1. I was romancing Ashley. I saved her and lost. I forget the guys. Yeah, Caden, because I barely played with him. So he was gone. Kept Ashley. Second game, Ashley's not really one of your people you can romance, and she's kind of a jerk to you by thinking, oh, you're a Cerberus, like whatever. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm done with you. I'm done with you. She's also racist to aliens, so that kind of put me off. But in the second game, I was really trying to do, romance Kelly, the girl on the that helps you navigate.
Your administrative assistant or whatever.
Yes, and then she died when she got captured because I went to do another mission before I went straight there, and she died to save her. Ooh. So that I want to save and try to have her, as my romance partner. So then I fell onto, Liara is who I ended up romancing. I really wanted to stick it to Ashley. I was like, look, being an alien now, and you're very racist against aliens, so this is your fault.
I did I forget who I romanced in the first one, because Ashley died. I saved Caden instead. In the second one, I did go for Miranda, and I pretty much stuck with Miranda because you can play around and you can have relationships with more than one person, but it can kind of come back to haunt you.
I never got to romance Miranda. I never got to.
I did. I was trying for that one right from the get go, and then
Yvonne Strahovski.
yeah, and then I don't know because I'm only a couple hours into part 3 right now, so I'm not sure who I'm gonna romance in the third one.
Yeah, because that's probably my one downside for Mass Effect 3 is I thought all of these characters would form my team in the third game. I thought it'd be one big party, but like Miranda and Jacob really go their own separate ways in the not for spoilers, I guess, for Mass Effect, but it's been out for a while, people. But you can like you'll see them again in like short little snippets, but they're not like part of your whole crew and your party that you're able to take on missions and stuff, which I thought was for me the most disappointing thing about Mass Effect 3 because I really loved my crew. Yeah, I really loved my crew in the second game, and I was like, if I get these and add on some more companions, like this will be great. But they took some of those characters away from me, and that made me a little sad.
Look, I'm happy if they would have just left me with Miranda and Garrus.
Garrus is my favorite.
Like those are the two I pretty much would take out all the time, except for whenever you were doing like one of the loyalty missions where you had to choose. Like a certain person had to go on that mission, so then you only had one spot left.
Yeah.
So then I had to look at like, okay, what do they do? Okay, well then I'm gonna have to take Miranda. Okay, what do they do? Okay, I'll take Garrus for this one then. But like,
yeah, I usually took Miranda or Garrus. I did take Thane a few times. I really liked him too. And of course, I really liked Legion. The Geth. He was one of my favorites as well. So when I saw him again in Mass Effect 3, I had a good time with Legion. It really is just so many great characters in the series, and I think that's one thing that made it one of my favorites too. It's not just the world; it's the characters that make up the world that I thought was just fantastic. And I really wish I would have played it sooner. But then also again, I'm like, I like the fact that I was able to just like, for lack of a better word, binge them. And just do 1 through 3 in the space of a month. I felt like I remembered a lot more stuff about the previous choices I made. Yeah. Like being able to do it all in one go.
Yeah, because I remember getting them separately over the years. And, like I think you could still import your saves, but I might have deleted some of them to try and make space and blah, blah, blah. And then I would just kind of forget what was going on. So...
Yeah, it's that's probably the downside of those type of games. And what I'm really looking forward to is with the Knights of the Old Republic playthrough, like the new remake that's coming out. I'm hoping they take kind of some stuff that, obviously it's a remake, so they're gonna reinvent some of the stuff they did with Knights of the Old Republic because that game is a little bit more basic, right? And the sequel for that game doesn't read any of your data from the first one. So I'm assuming when they're remaking this game, there's going to be for the possibility of sequels where they're able to say, all right, now let's take, what choices they made here and make them affect here. And they might be thinking about it in a more long-term stretch like that, where it might, feel even better, because I'm playing it right now on the Switch. They did not a remaster even. It's really just a port of Xbox and PC version onto the Switch of Knights of the Old Republic, and it plays really great on the Switch, honestly. But
one thing they're gonna have to worry about with the new release is Disney and Lucas trying to make sure like with the canon and everything now.
Well, apparently they've already said. One of the people for Lucasfilm said this game is going to be not canon, which is great. Because I don't want them to force it into canon. Just let me I hate that. I like a lot of stuff Disney and Lucasfilm has done, but what I don't like is this need for everything to be canon. Oh, Battlefront 2, we're making a story mode that's canon. Oh, like every game that they've been publishing, that's what they've been trying to do. I just want you to make good games. If they're canon, they're canon. If they're not canon, fine. I mean, Fallen Order was a good game, but there should be a balance. Okay, we have Fallen Order as a canon game, and then Knights of the Old Republic, just have fun with this wild adventure that you're able to make choices of. And really for games like that where you make choices, there really shouldn't be any canon or not canon. Like it should just be, when people say like, well, was the main character of Knights of the Old Republic canon male or canon female? It shouldn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Just that character existed at some point and was named that thing, and that's all that matters. That it's myself going as this character. And I think when you try to force that stuff to be canon, it loses some of that your choice type of stuff. So hopefully there's a balance. Maybe every so often they'll be like, here's a Legends game, here's a canon game, and we can, have both. I think that's the perfect world. Man, we're going really long. Okay, games in your queue. So I have some games right now that are like next up on my list. I think you kind of mentioned what you had coming up. These are games I own that I'm looking forward to playing. I mentioned it before, Ghost of Tsushima. I've heard really good things about it. You played it then?
Yeah, I have it. I have the PS5 upgrade for it.
Okay, I do not have that.
With the I think it's an extra $20 or $30 to get the PS5 upgrade.
Oh, really? If you already own the game?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
For the director's
cut, I might do that.
Like an extra island. It'll probably be a whole other podcast about how Xbox and PlayStation are handling stuff like that. But it's definitely, even without, it's definitely worth it. Ghost of Tsushima was a hell of a game.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to I've owned it since last Christmas, I think, but I just haven't had the chance to sit down and play it. For a multitude of reasons, really, because it's my PS5 is downstairs, and usually anytime I'm downstairs, my dogs bark at everything, so I get annoyed. So when I was doing Mass Effect, it was on this PC, so I was able to be up here. My dog was able to be sitting up here, and he would be quiet because this room's far away from any sounds. So part of me is like, maybe I'll bring my PS5 up here and play up here at some points because it is much quieter. But yeah, that's one of the games I have on my list. The people that have made Until Dawn have been making these other games called the... Oh, what is it called? I have it right here. It's like I have God of War on my list too, the first one. I have not played it. I own it. I got it for free on one of these things. Haven't had the chance to sit down and actually play it though.
To do that one, definitely.
Oh, the Dark Pictures anthology. There's games called Little Hope and Man of Medan that are on my list that I'm really looking forward to play. Last of Us 2 I haven't played yet, but I own it. So those are like the ones that I'm looking at. Like Days Gone, Control. Like these are games I own that I haven't had a chance to play that are, big games that have gotten really good reviews that I just haven't had a chance to sit down and play, and hoping that I can sit down and play some of these and maybe even get a chance to review them on here, as we go forward. Was there any other games that you had that you own that that haven't had a chance to play yet?
I've got some I haven't had a chance to play, but I don't know when I'll get them in my. I don't know when I'll get around to them, or if I'll ever get around to them. So.
Yeah, well, you're off for how many days in a row? Get on it.
Well, I'm off until next Tuesday, so I got like a little over a week left.
Wow, that's pretty good. But yeah, so I guess that about wraps up the first episode here. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about anything?
No. Are you looking forward to the Game Awards?
I am. I think there's been some... Oh, I think they're announcing a new Star Wars game there, maybe? The people that made Heavy Rain and Detroit Become Human are apparently doing a Star Wars game, so I'm looking forward to that. because but Detroit Become Human is really one of my favorites too. So yeah, looking forward to see what they have. If there's rumors that's getting announced on the Game Awards, I really only go for the announcements. I don't really care who wins Game of the Year or anything because it's so subjective.
And every website or magazine or whatever does their own Game of the Year and best racing game, best shooting game, best this, that, the other, blah blah blah. But yeah, that seems to be the place where the biggest news comes out of. That's where the Series X was first premiered. We got our first glimpse of that.
It's kind of shifted from E3 to Game Awards.
So I'm looking forward to see whatever news comes out of that.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And when is it? It's December when?
It's this week. I'm not sure what day, but
I'm looking it up now.
Yeah.
It is. This is how bad of a podcast we are to start off. We have to look up the Game Awards. You know what else I really wanted? It was a good game that I really want a sequel of. So it's December 9th, which is Thursday. So it might already happen. No, I'm going to put this up before Thursday. But so maybe next week before you go back to work, we recap Game Awards.
I'm down for it.
But a game that I want like a remake of or something is they had a game called The Matrix Path of Neo on PS2 and something, but it was like the whole story of Neo from Matrix 1 through the third one, and it was a really fun game, really well-made game. Now that Matrix Resurrections is coming out, I'm kind of hoping that we get another one of those type of games. But here are the awards. So let's quickly just go through this real quick. Here's who's up for some of these awards. Game of the Year, Deathloop is up for the award there.
That's another one I'm playing right now.
Okay. I've heard mixed things. I've heard it's worth the money. I've heard it's not worth the money. I don't really know.
I think it is. I think it's definitely an interesting take, and for me, it's definitely worth it.
I have so It Takes Two. I haven't played that either. That's on. I haven't played any of the Game of Year ones actually, so I'm a bad gamer, I guess. Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village are up for Game of the Year. Best Narrative, Deathloop, It Takes Two, Life is Strange, True Colors, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is up there, and Psychonauts 2. Best Score in Music, Cyberpunk 2077. Of course, that's up there for just Best Score in Music. Deathloop, Nier, Replicant, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, and The Artful Escape are for Score and Music. Best Performance, Erica Mori as Alex Chen in Life is Strange. Giancarlo Esposito as Anton Castillo in Far Cry 6. Jason E. Kelly as Colt Vaughn in Deathloop. Maggie Robertson as Lady Dimitrescu in Resident Evil Village. And Ozioma Akaga as Juliana Blake in Deathloop. Best ongoing game, Apex Legends, Call of Duty Warzone, Final Fantasy 14 Online, Fortnite, and Genshin Impact. I haven't played any of those either. Best mobile game, Fantasian, Genshin Impact, League of Legends, Marvel Future Revolution, and Pokemon Unite. I have played Unite. It's not that great. I mean, I had some fun with it, but it's not like best mobile game territory. I'm not going to name all of these, but there's those were the big ones there. Oh, best sim and strategy game. Here you go. This is right up my alley. 4, Evil Genius 2, World Domination. Humankind, Inscription, and Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Like I said, I'm not really into most of the actual winners.
Yeah.
Mainly because a lot of the games I wouldn't have played, so I couldn't really give a fair assessment on it.
Yeah, I can't give any guesses.
For anything. or performances. I can say the two from Deathloop did a great job because they interact with each other a lot, but that's kind of about it. I can't really say anything about anything else. But I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of trailers and what they try and blow us away with as far as upcoming releases or news or anything like that.
Yeah, they actually have an award for most anticipated game too. This Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel, and Starfield are the 5 up for most anticipated game.
And those are all very anticipated. So
yes. So it'll be interesting to see who wins that. So we'll go over the winners. We'll go over the stuff that happened at the Game Awards. That's on Thursday the 9th. Looking forward to that. If you want to give us a follow, you can follow us on Twitter at PixelPalsVGPod. So PixelPalsVG standing for video game pod. Facebook.com at PixelPalsPod. So you can give us some follows there. And we'll see you next time.